The drums echoed through the forest like thunder, rolling beneath my skin. Each beat meant one thing: obedience. Each pause dared someone to rebel. I stood at the edge of the sacred clearing, breath catching in my throat. The air smelled of pine smoke and wolf musk, thick enough to make my head spin. Firelight licked the faces of the elders in a slow, orange dance. The entire Silverpine pack had gathered under the full moon to witness my fate. "Tonight," Elder Rowan's voice carried across the clearing, deep and certain, "the moon binds another union. Our Luna-blooded daughter, Sophina Hilton, shall honor the old ways and stand beside the alpha chosen for her." My stomach turned. Chosen, a word that sounded gentle but felt like a cage tightening. The women behind me hummed their blessing chant, their voices weaving through the night air like silver threads. Every sound scraped against my nerves. The fire cracked, sharp, like it agreed with my heartbeat. I inhaled once, slow and shaky. Now or never. My wolf stirred faintly inside me, a restless whisper. Her power had been weak lately, her presence dim. But even faint, she growled in warning. "If you bow, you die inside." I stepped forward. "Stop." The chant broke. Silence spread like frost. Every pair of eyes turned to me, the Luna's daughter, the obedient heir. Or so they thought. Rowan blinked. "Sophina, this is sacred." I said stop. My voice trembled once, then steadied. "I'm not doing this." A collective gasp. Wolves shifted uncomfortably, some growling low, others whispering prayers. Elder Myra, draped in silver furs, frowned from her seat near the flames. "You would shame your ancestors before the moon." "I would free them," I shot back. "This ritual isn't a bond, it's a chain. I won't marry a stranger because the council owes his pack a debt." Rowan's brows lowered. "That stranger, child, is the alpha of the city, Henry Voss. His alliance will keep Silverpine safe." The name hit the air like steel. Even the fire seemed to shrink from it. Henry Voss. The alpha from the city. The man whose empire reached beyond forest borders, whispered to rule both wolves and men. I had heard his name in stories told around campfires, dark tales about power, money, and wolves who disappeared after crossing him. "He's a criminal," I said, my voice low but sharp. Rowan's tone hardened. "He is an alpha who commands respect, and from tonight onward, he will command yours." My breath caught respect or fear. The drums started again, slower now, echoing like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. I looked up at the moon, full, glowing, ancient. The same moon that had once blessed my birth and marked my wolf spirit as strong. It felt distant tonight, almost cold. "I can't accept him," I said quietly. "You can't force me." Rowan's patience snapped. "You forget your place." "I know my place," I said. "It's just not at his side." A murmur rippled through the pack. Shock, maybe admiration, maybe pity. The elders exchanged looks. Then Rowan lifted his staff. "Enough, she speaks under fear. Bring forth the guest alpha." My blood ran cold. From the darkness beyond the torches came footsteps, steady, deliberate, confident. The murmurs died. I could feel the power shifting, a new energy bleeding into the clearing like smoke. Before I saw him, I felt him. His presence pressed against my senses, calm yet heavy, like the pause before a storm. The wolves closest to the path lowered their eyes as the figure stepped into the light. Tall, broad shoulders wrapped in a black coat that gleamed faintly where it caught the firelight. A scar ran along his jaw, not fresh but remembered. His eyes, gray with a hint of silver, met mine instantly, and the air between us changed. Henry Voss. The man the council had sold my freedom to. His gaze didn't waver. It was unreadable, but something flickered there. A faint surprise, maybe amusement, maybe something darker. "So," he said, voice smooth and low, carrying easily through the clearing, "this is the Luna who refuses me." His tone wasn't angry. It was curious, as though he'd just found a puzzle he actually wanted to solve. My heart slammed against my ribs. I don't belong to anyone. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing slightly. "You should be careful with words like that. In my world, they sound like a challenge. A ripple of unease passed through the crowd. Even Rowan hesitated. Henry stepped closer to the fire. The flames stretched toward him like they recognized their own kind. His scent, dark pine smoke, something sharp like whiskey, cut through the night. I wanted to step back, but my pride held me in place. "Your world isn't mine," I said. "Not yet." The way he said it made my wolf stir again, weak but alive. I could almost feel her claws scrape against the walls of my mind, half angry, half intrigued. Rowan cleared his throat. "Alpha Voss, forgive her insolence. The Hilton bloodline has always been loyal to the moon." Henry didn't look away from me. Loyalty is earned, not inherited. The elders fell silent. He moved another step closer. My pulse raced, but I refused to drop my gaze. His expression was unreadable, but I caught the faintest twitch at the corner of his mouth, something between amusement and respect. "I came for an alliance," he said, "not obedience." I blinked, unsure if I'd heard right. He turned toward the council. "If the Luna doesn't accept me, forcing her would serve no purpose. Wolves who kneel don't fight well." The words shocked everyone. Even Rowan froze, staff hovering midair. I expected anger. I got something far more dangerous, interest. Henry looked back at me. "But I won't leave without what I came for." "And what's that?" I asked. His eyes glinted like silver under firelight. "The truth about why your wolf is fatting." My breath hitched. "How do you?" "Because I've seen it before," he interrupted softly. "And when it happens, it means the moon is owed a debt." The drums stopped again, leaving the forest painfully silent. Only the fire cracked, throwing gold across his face. I felt every gaze on me, every whisper crawling through the air. But all I could see were those eyes, cold, patient, certain. Somewhere deep inside, my wolf stirred, whispering a name I'd never said aloud. "Henry." And for the first time that night, fear and curiosity tangled together inside me. The fire cracked again, scattering sparks into the cold night air. None of the elders spoke. It was as if the whole pack held its breath, waiting for me to say something, anything that would make this moment less dangerous. But there was no turning back now. Henry's gaze pinned me in place, calm and steady, like he'd already seen the outcome of every possible path I could take. He didn't move closer this time. He didn't have to. His presence filled the clearing on its own. "What debt?" I managed to ask, my voice softer than I intended. He tilted his head, studying me. "The kind you don't pay with blood," he said, "but with choice." Rowan bristled beside the fire. "Enough of these riddles. The moon has already spoken." Henry's tone cut through him like wind through glass. "The moon speaks to me as well, elder." That silenced even the bravest of them. A few wolves stepped back. I'd never seen anyone speak to the council that way and survive. He turned back to me. "Your wolf is fatting because she's caged by fear. You think this ritual binds you, but it's your own silence that does." My pulse thudded. How could he possibly know? I tried to sound composed. "You don't know me." "I know what you hide," he said quietly. "You haven't shifted in months. Your energy flickers like a dying flame. You wake at dawn feeling human, not wolf. Tell me I'm wrong." My throat went dry. No one in the pack knew how weak my connection had become. I'd hidden it, afraid of what it meant. He saw it. Somehow he'd seen right through me. Rowan slammed his staff into the dirt. "This conversation ends now." Henry didn't even glance at him. "If you force her bond, you'll lose her entirely. I've seen it happen, wolves collapsing under vows they never chose. Their spirits vanish. The moon takes them back." I felt the weight of his words settle deep in my chest. The moon takes them back. Rowan scowled. "You speak of things beyond your right." Henry smirked faintly. "I speak of experience. You rule this forest. I rule everything beyond it, and your council is standing on a debt owed to me." A ripple of alarm ran through the crowd. The elders exchanged uneasy looks. "What debt?" I asked again, this time steadier. Henry's eyes softened just enough for me to see the truth behind them, something older, heavier than arrogance. Your father's pack took something from my bloodline years ago. I came to settle it. But when I saw you," his words trailed for a second. "Let's just say the moon has a cruel sense of irony." Heat rose in my chest. "You think marrying me will settle some ancient score?" He stepped closer, slow enough that I could hear the faint crunch of earth beneath his boots. "No, I think helping you remember what your wolf truly is will." I blinked, unsure if I was hearing a threat or an offer. "Why would you care?" He smiled faintly. "Because if your wolf dies, the forest loses its power. And without the forest, my own pack loses control of what lies beneath it." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. "What lies beneath it?" He didn't answer. Instead, he lifted his hand slightly, palms open, not demanding but inviting. "Let me show you." Rowan started forward. "You will not take her anywhere." Henry's eyes flashed silver. "I didn't ask your permission." A deep growl rose from the circle of wolves. For a heartbeat, I thought a fight would break out. Then Elder Myra raised a trembling hand. "Let her choose," she whispered. "The moon has already marked the moment." Her words carried strange finality. Henry looked at me again, calm as if the entire world wasn't about to explode. "I'll stay in your territory for 3 nights. No more. At the end of the 3rd, if you still refuse me, I'll leave. But if you want your wolf back, you'll come to me before the sun rises on the last night." The proposal hung in the air like a curse and a promise at once. My heart pounded. Why 3 nights? He stepped back, his expression unreadable. "Because by then the moon will wane, and so will your time." He turned, coat catching the firelight, and walked toward the edge of the clearing. Wolves moved aside instinctively, parting to make a path for him. He didn't look back, not once. The darkness swallowed him whole. The drums didn't start again. The silence that followed was heavier than any howl. Rowan finally turned toward me, fury and fear flickering in his eyes. "You've invited ruin, Sophina Hilton." But I barely heard him. My hands were shaking, not from fear but from something sharper, curiosity. Because for the first time in months, deep inside me, my wolf whispered a single word. "Run." The fire was dying by the time the council dispersed. Only glowing coals remained, breathing red against the dark earth. I stayed until the last elder's footsteps faded. The forest felt alive again, the night insects humming, the wind whispering between trees, but beneath the familiar sounds was something else. A pulse, faint, rhythmic. "Run," my wolf urged again, voice clearer now, like she'd finally woken after a long sleep. "Run where?" I whispered. No answer, only that pull deep in my gut, dragging me north toward the river ridge. I threw my cloak around my shoulders and slipped into the trees. Pine needles muffled my steps. The moonlight followed me through the branches, pale and cold. Every sound was sharper, the crack of a twig, the sigh of wind through moss. My breath came fast, but not from fear. Something hotter pushed me forward. By the time I reached the ridge, mist covered the valley below. Silverpine had always been beautiful from here, ancient, endless, but tonight it looked like another world entirely. And then I saw him. Henry Voss stood at the edge of the cliff, coat unbuttoned, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms. The moon painted his skin in shades of steel and shadow. He didn't turn when I stepped from the trees, but I knew he'd sensed me. "I thought you'd wait for morning," he said quietly. "I wasn't planning to come at all." "Then why are you here?" I swallowed, unsure. "Because my wolf told me to run." That made him glance back, eyes glinting. "And she led you to me." It wasn't a question. He faced the valley again. Below us, mist rolled over the treetops like breath over glass. "The forest has memory, Sophina. There are veins of old power beneath it, magic older than either of our packs. Your bloodline is tied to it." I frowned. "You sound like one of the seers." He gave a small smile. "I don't believe in fate. I believe in leverage." "And you think I'm leverage?" "I think you're the key to what my people lost." He crouched, drawing a mark in the dirt with a knife's tip, 3 interlocked crescents. "The moon's debt." The symbol glowed faintly, silver light pulsing through the lines. My breath caught. How? The power that feeds your wolf runs through this soil, he said. But the council cut the flow decades ago. Your father made that choice to protect Silverpine from outside rule. It worked until now. My heartbeat quickened. You mean you? He rose, eyes on me. I mean the consequence of his choice. Wolves who lose that current begin to fade. You're the proof. The mark dimmed, smoke curling from it. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The wind tugged at my hair. His scent, pine and rain, filled the space between us. Why tell me this? I asked finally. You could have let me weaken. Because a dead Luna is useless to everyone. His tone was calm, but there was something under it, honesty, almost regret. And because I've seen what happens when the forest's power goes dark, it devours everything. He stepped closer. I could feel the heat from his body, the faint hum of his energy. My wolf stirred again, restless and wild. What do you want from me, Henry? His gaze dropped to my throat, then back to my eyes. I want you to survive, and to understand what your pack kept buried. He pointed toward the valley. There's an entrance in the old ruins. Meet me there before dawn. If you don't come, I'll assume you've chosen your counsel. He turned as if to leave, but I caught his arm. And if I do come? He looked down at my hand on his sleeve. Then you'll see what kind of alpha I really am. My pulse stuttered. I let go. He disappeared into the mist, soundless as smoke. I stood alone again, heart racing. The forest around me felt different now, awake, listening. He's dangerous, I told myself. So are you, my wolf whispered back. I didn't return to the campfire. I headed toward the ruins. The path wound through thicker woods, branches clawing at my cloak. Fog gathered near the ground, swirling around my boots. I kept hearing faint noises, footsteps maybe, or echoes of my own heartbeat. When I reached the clearing, I froze. The ruins weren't empty. A circle of black stones rose from the earth, etched with runes. The air shimmered above them like heat over water. Henry was already there, kneeling beside a narrow pit filled with moonlit water. He looked up when I stepped closer. You came. I came for answers. He gestured toward the pool. Then look. I hesitated, then knelt opposite him. The water's surface reflected the moon perfectly, until ripples spread across it, showing flashes of images. My father, younger, standing beside Rowan, the same ruins, brighter then, wolves forming a circle, a chain of light linking their wrists. What is this? The moment your pack sealed the forest's heart, he said. They used your bloodline to lock it. The curse passed to you. I shook my head. No, my father, he did what he had to. Maybe, but every lock has a cost. The water stilled again, and for a heartbeat, I saw my own face reflected. Eyes glowing faintly gold, wolf light flickering back to life. I gasped, the glow vanished. Henry's voice softened. Your wolf isn't gone, Sophina, she's trapped, and whoever holds the key to that lock. He touched the mark on his chest, just above his heart. Was chosen the same night you were born. Cold slid through me. You. He nodded once. Our fates were bound long before either of us had a say. I rose quickly. If that's true, why hide it? Because your father would have killed me. The words hit harder than I expected. Then why not destroy me now? He met my gaze, steady, unreadable. Because I don't want power from you, Sophina. I want the world that comes after we break this curse. His voice dropped lower. And maybe I want to know who you are without the council's leash. The silence stretched between us, heavy and charged. I finally stepped back. I don't trust you. He smiled faintly. Good, trust makes wolves careless. He slipped the knife back into his coat and turned toward the shadows beyond the ruins. Stay here tonight. The forest will test you. If you survive the dawn, we'll talk about the key. Test me. He looked over his shoulder. The moon never gives gifts freely. Then he was gone again, vanishing into the trees. I stood by the moonlit pool, wind rising around me. Somewhere deep in the woods, a wolf howled, long, mournful, and strange, not of Silverpine. My wolf shivered inside me, not in fear this time, but in recognition. He's right, she murmured. The heart still beats beneath us. The mist thickened. I wrapped my cloak tighter and sank to my knees beside the glowing stones, watching the water shimmer until my reflection blurred into shadow. The night felt endless, yet somewhere beyond the trees I could still sense him, Henry's presence, steady and waiting, like a promise I wasn't ready to accept. And beneath everything, the forest itself began to breathe again. The night grew heavier the moment Henry's presence faded. Silence pressed in, deep and absolute, broken only by the faint hiss of wind through the ruins. I stayed by the moonlit pool, the chills seeping through my cloak and into my bones. The silver water no longer showed my reflection, only the moon's pale face, rippling like it was watching me back. He said the forest will test me. My wolf stirred faintly. It already is. The mist thickened, rising until it curled around the black stones like ghostly vines. The air smelled faintly metallic, almost sweet, and the trees beyond the ruins seemed to shift their shapes. I could hear soft footsteps, or maybe heartbeats, circling just beyond sight. I rose slowly. Who's there? No answer, only the whisper of leaves. I took a cautious step forward, then another, until the mist swallowed the ruins behind me. The air pulsed once, like a heartbeat through the ground. Then I heard it, a low, guttural growl, not close, not far. Every instinct told me to run, but my wolf whispered, face it. I turned toward the sound. Between two twisted pines, eyes glowed, amber, wild, familiar. A wolf, but not one I recognized. Its fur shimmered like smoke, shifting color with every movement. It stepped into the moonlight, silent and massive, its gaze fixed on me. My pulse quickened. You're not real. It tilted its head. Then why do you feel fear? The voice wasn't in my ears. It was inside my mind. My breath caught. Who are you? The forest remembers what you've forgotten, it said. Prove you are still part of it. And then it lunged. I barely had time to move. I stumbled backward, dodging the first strike, the wolf's claws slicing through my cloak. I hit the ground hard, gasping. The beast circled me, silent again. I forced myself to my feet. My body trembled, but my wolf surged closer inside me, awake, angry. Stop hiding behind fear, Sophina. I raised my hands, palms glowing faintly. The energy felt raw, strange, like static under my skin. If you're the forest spirit, I said, then you know who I am. Once, yes, it said, but you forgot what being Luna means. It leapt again. This time I didn't step back. I dropped low, rolling to the side. My fingers brushed its fur. It burned cold, like frost and fire at once. Images flashed through my mind, memories not mine. The first Lunas walking through sacred fire, wolves howling beside them, their hearts bound to the land. When the vision faded, I was on my knees again, shaking. The spectral wolf stood before me, unmoving now. What do you want from me? I whispered. To see if your heart still beats for your kind, or for yourself. I swallowed hard, then take your answer. I pressed my hand to the ground, channeling every ounce of energy my wolf still had. Silver light rippled outward, forming a ring that surrounded us both. The spirit wolf growled, packing. I fight for my pack, I said, but not their rules, for the wolves who deserve to be free. The light brightened, surging upward in a column. The wolf lunged one last time, straight into me. Cold and heat collided. My lungs locked. The world dissolved into blinding silver. When the light dimmed, the forest had changed. The mist was gone. The night sky stretched clear and endless, the moon burning bright above. The spectral wolf was gone too, but I felt her. Inside me. Cole. My wolf's voice came stronger than ever. You remembered who you are. I fell to my knees, breath shaking. What happened? The test is passed, she said. The forest knows you again, but so does he. Before I could ask what she meant, a figure stepped from the shadows beyond the ruins. Henry. He wasn't wearing the same coat. His shirt was torn at the sleeve, faint scratches across his forearm catching the moonlight. He looked like he'd run through the forest to get here. You survived, he said, breath steady but eyes unreadable. I wasn't aware dying was an option. A corner of his mouth lifted. It always is in this forest. He stepped closer, eyes scanning the glowing marks still fatting on the stones. The test accepted you. I felt the ground tremble halfway to camp. I forced a breath. You knew it would attack me. He didn't deny it. I wanted to see if you'd run. And if I had. His gaze met mine, gray and piercing, softened only by the moonlight. Then I'd know you weren't ready to stand beside me. The words sank deep, sharp and deliberate. You're testing me, not the forest. Maybe both, he said quietly. The forest and I share similar standards. I wanted to argue, but my wolf stirred again, not in anger this time, in awareness. His presence no longer felt like intrusion, but something that echoed my own rhythm. He knelt beside the moon pool, dipping his fingers into the still water. It accepted you, he murmured. That means we can begin. Begin what? The unraveling. He looked up at me. If the forest's heart is to open again, we'll need both halves of the seal, yours and mine. He reached out, not touching but close enough that I could feel the heat of his hand. But if we do this, there's no going back. The council will hunt us both. The air between us tightened, thick with danger and something unspoken. I took a step closer. Then I guess you're stuck with me, Henry Voss. His eyes flickered, that same almost smile returning. You'll regret saying that. I already do. For a second, silence hung between us, heavy, electric. Then somewhere far off, a horn echoed through the trees, low, hollow warning. Henry's expression hardened. They found us. He grabbed my hand, not gently but not cruelly, and pulled me toward the shadows. The council sent hunters. I stumbled after him, heart hammering. You said they'd wait until dawn. They lied, he said. That's what councils do. Branches whipped past as we ran. My wolf pulsed inside me, alive and wild. I could feel Henry's energy ahead of me, steady, powerful, in control even in chaos. Behind us, the forest roared to life, wolves howling, spells cracking through the night air. I tightened my grip on his hand. Where are we going? To finish what your father started, he said, and to prove the forest chose right. The trees closed around us like a moving wall. The mist returned, thicker this time, silver and alive. Somewhere ahead, lights flickered through the fog, ancient ruins glowing again, like veins of the earth reopening. For the first time in years, I felt strong. Terrified, yes, but strong. And as Henry pulled me through the mist, his hand firm around mine, my wolf whispered in my mind with quiet certainty. This is only the beginning. Branches slapped against my arms as we ran, the air thick with smoke and magic. Behind us, the horns kept sounding, closer now, deeper. The hunters were in the forest. Henry didn't slow. His grip stayed firm on my wrist, guiding me through the maze of trees until the mist swallowed everything but the glow ahead, the ruins again, but different. The carvings along the stones burned pale gold, pulsing with each heartbeat I took. Keep moving, he said, voice rough with breath but steady. What are you taking me to? You'll see. We reached a clearing shaped like a crater, where the earth dipped inward to a pit of old stone and light. The air hummed, a low vibration that made the ground tremble beneath my boots. Henry dropped my hand only long enough to push aside a fallen slab, revealing a narrow stair spiraling down. Go. I hesitated, into the dark. He arched a brow. Would you rather face what's coming behind us? A growl split the night, sharp and too close. I didn't argue. I slipped into the stairwell, the cold swallowing me whole. The descent twisted tight. Each step echoed, the air damp and mineral sweet. A faint blue glow shimmered below us. Henry followed close, his presence a steady warmth behind my back. When the stairs ended, we stepped into an underground hall, vast, ancient, roofed with roots and stone ribs. A river of light cut through the center, flowing like molten silver. I stopped, breath caught. What is this? The heart of Silverpine, he said. Your father sealed it here. This current fed every wolf in the forest once. The water, or whatever it was, shifted in rhythm with the moon's pull. I could feel it brushing against my skin even from a distance, awakening something inside me that had been quiet for too long. Henry moved ahead, his boots barely making a sound. The lock is still active. 2 halves yours and mine. If one breaks, the flow returns. I stared at him. You mean if we break? He gave a slight smile. Not die, unbind. The seal was forged with blood and oath. It needs the same to open. How convenient, I muttered. He glanced back, eyes flicking silver. You don't trust me. I barely know you. Then know this. He stepped closer until the hum of his energy touched mine. If I wanted power alone, I'd have taken yours already. I'm here because without this forest, my pack dies too. His voice softened on the last word. The admission pulled at something deep inside me. Before I could answer, the horn sounded again, muffled but echoing even down here. Dust drifted from the ceiling. They're tracking the energy, Henry said. We don't have long. He reached into his coat and drew a small blade, silver-hilted, runes etched along the edge. This will bind us for the ritual, half a mark each. I stared. You want me to bleed with you? He nodded once, a promise, not a wound. My pulse fluttered. The air between us thinned until all I could hear was the quiet rhythm of his breathing. Fine, I said finally, but if you try anything, you'll bite me. Maybe. That earned a real smile. Noted. He turned the blade, pricked his thumb, then offered it to me. Your turn. The metal felt warm from his touch. I pressed it lightly against my own skin. A single drop welled and fell into the river of light below. When it met the surface, the current flared bright, sending silver ripples outward. Henry added his drop. The light surged again, 2 pulses joining, then twisting together like strands of the same thread. The floor shuddered. A sound rose, part growl, part song, and the air grew hot. I stumbled back, but Henry caught my arm, steadying me. It's opening. The current tore through the stone barrier, a beam of white energy shooting upward through cracks in the ceiling, back to the surface world. For a moment I saw everything, the forest above, the wolves halting mid-hunt, the mist clearing. The power that had slept for decades now roared awake. Then the light dimmed, leaving only quiet. Henry exhaled slowly, still holding my arm. You did it. We did it, my wolf corrected. But the relief was short-lived. The walls began to groan. Cracks spidered across the pillars. Too much pressure, he said. The seal's fighting back. A slab fell near us, spraying dust. Henry shoved me toward the stairs. Go. We climbed fast, the ground trembling harder with each step. Behind us, the hall collapsed into the river of light, swallowing the ruins whole. We burst out of the stairwell into the forest again, gasping in the cold night air. The mist had turned golden, the trees shimmering faintly as if drinking from new life. I turned to him. Is it over? He shook his head. No, the seal broke, but the power's loose. It'll look for balance. That means it'll come through us. Before I could ask what that meant, the light rippled through the ground and struck us both. It wasn't pain, more like being pulled through water. My vision blurred, and for a second I wasn't in my body. I was the forest, the roots, the river, the heartbeat under earth. Then it passed. I fell to my knees, dizzy, breathing hard. Henry knelt beside me, equally shaken. His eyes glowed silver, mine golden. For a heartbeat, both colors merged. Then silence. The horns were gone. No hunters, no council, just the forest breathing again. He helped me stand. You're part of it now, he said softly. Half the power runs through you, the rest through me. I looked at him, still trembling. So we're bound. Yes. For how long? Until the moon decides otherwise. The words should have terrified me. Instead, they felt inevitable. The air grew quiet again. He stepped back, gaze flicking over my face like he was memorizing it. You should rest, he said finally. At dawn, the council will feel what happened. We'll need to move before they come. I hesitated. Where? To my territory, he said. The city. The city. His faint smile returned. You wanted freedom from pack rules, didn't you? Consider this your first taste of it. He turned toward the path, the last of the mist curling around his boots. Come on, Luna. The forest's debt is paid. Now we face the wolves in suits. I followed, heart unsteady, but alive in a way it hadn't been for years. Each step away from Silverpine felt like crossing a line I could never uncross. Behind us, the forest glowed one last time, then settled into quiet peace. Bound to him, my wolf whispered, and to whatever comes next. By the time the first light touched the horizon, the forest was far behind us. The car waited where the old road met the edge of civilization, a black SUV, sleek, quiet, utterly out of place among the trees. Henry opened the passenger door without a word. I hesitated, my boots still muddy, my pulse still echoing with the forest's heartbeat. You really trust machines more than wolves? He glanced at me, faint amusement in his gray eyes. Wolves run on instinct, machines run on command. I prefer control. I climbed in anyway. The interior smelled of leather and faint cologne. When the doors shut, the silence was heavy, almost claustrophobic after the forest's wild breath. We drove without speaking at first. The forest faded to smaller and smaller shadows until skyscrapers began to rise from the mist like stone fangs. The city. Henry's territory. Every building seemed to watch him as we passed, glass towers reflecting morning light, neon signs still blinking sleepily. Wolves in suits, humans with sharp eyes, guards stationed at corners. All his world. Finally, I broke the silence. How many of them know what you really are? His fingers tightened briefly on the wheel. Enough to stay loyal, not enough to challenge me. You run a pack in a crime syndicate. He smirked. Words humans invented for the same thing, obedience bought with fear. I stared out the window, watching the city pulse awake. And you think I belong here? I think the forest chose both of us, he said simply. Now we find out why. We pulled up before a tall building of black glass and steel. At the top, the symbol of his syndicate glimmered faintly, 3 crescents intertwined, the same mark from the ruins. He opened my door. Welcome to Voss Tower. The lobby was all marble and silence. Wolves disguised as men stood near the elevators, suits tailored, eyes sharp. They nodded to Henry as we passed. One of them, a tall man with gold-threaded hair, spoke quietly. Alpha, the council's messenger, arrived. He's waiting upstairs. Henry's jaw tightened. Of course he is. He turned to me. Stay close. They'll test you before they trust you. I'm used to that. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. Inside, our reflections stood side by side, his calm, dark control against my pale, restless energy. For a moment, I caught the faint glow of our marks reflected in the mirrored walls, silver at his wrist, gold at mine. Bound. The elevator opened into a vast office lined with floor-to-ceiling windows. The view swallowed half the city. At the far end waited a man in a white suit, older, sharp-eyed, with the scent of wolf hidden under too much cologne. Henry Voss, he said smoothly. The council sends its regards. Henry's smile didn't reach his eyes. I doubt that. The messenger's gaze shifted to me. And this must be the Luna who broke the seal. I tensed. Word travels fast. Power always does. He stepped closer, his tone still polite but edged. The council is concerned. They say you've allied with a criminal. Henry spoke before I could. Tell the council the forest's debt is paid. Their laws end where my city begins. The messenger tilted his head. And if they disagree, then they'll have to come collect me themselves. The tension thickened. I could feel energy coiling beneath Henry's calm like a storm held barely in check. Finally, the messenger smiled faintly. I'll deliver your message. He glanced at me one last time, something calculating in his eyes, then left. The door clicked shut, silence again. I exhaled slowly. So that's how you talk to the council. I've found diplomacy works better when backed by fear. He walked toward the windows, looking down at the city. You see all this. Hard to miss. This is what I built to survive after the packs turned on me. Every tower, every deal, every name on a contract. My pack runs through it all. Wolves adapted. Or hid. He turned, one brow lifting. You sound disappointed. I grew up believing wolves belonged to the earth, not the economy. And where has that belief gotten your pack? That stung more than I wanted to admit. He stepped closer, stopping just within arm's reach. The forest gives power, the city demands it, both are part of us now. I looked up at him, defiant. You talk like you own both. Maybe I do, he said softly. But you, his gaze flicked down to my wrist where the faint gold mark shimmered. You're the only one who could destroy it. Is that a threat? A reminder. Our eyes locked, silence charged again. The hum of the city faded until all I could hear was his heartbeat and mine. My wolf stirred, unsettled, curious, alive. Before I could say anything, someone knocked at the door. Henry broke eye contact first. Come in. A young woman in a dark suit entered, nervous. Alpha, there's news. A body was found near the river, one of ours. Marked. Henry's expression darkened. By who? She hesitated. We're not sure. The wound was clean, not wolf, not human. Something cold passed through the room. I felt it too, a familiar, ancient pulse of magic. Henry's eyes met mine. The forest's power didn't stay contained, he said quietly. Someone else is using it. I frowned. Who could? The ones who fed from it before your father sealed it. His tone sharpened. The ones I thought extinct. Rogues. He shook his head slowly. Worse, shadows. The word felt wrong in my mouth when I repeated it. What are shadows? He looked out the window again, the city lights catching in his eyes. Shifters who lost their wolves but kept their hunger. He turned back to me. They'll come for the new source of power. Me. He nodded. And maybe for me, the bond made us their beacon. The city outside suddenly felt colder. He walked to a cabinet, poured 2 glasses of something amber, and handed one to me. Welcome to my world, Luna. Forest or city, it's all the same game. I took the glass, my hand brushing his briefly. Heat raced up my arm despite myself. And what game are we playing now? He raised his glass, eyes unreadable. Survival. The city never truly slept, but that morning it felt restless. Like every heartbeat beneath the pavement belonged to something waiting to surface. Henry stood by the window again, sleeves rolled, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, clipped. Lock every perimeter. Double guards at the east docks. If the mark repeats, I want eyes on it before nightfall. He hung up and looked over at me. 2 more bodies, he said quietly. Same wound, same residue. Residue. He nodded toward a folder on the desk. Inside, photos, dark smears, faint silver veins running through skin. I flinched. It wasn't blood. It looked like the same light that had burst from the forest seal. They're feeding off it, he said, draining the new current. My pulse quickened. The shadows. He nodded once. They used to hunt between worlds. Now they found a way back. I tried to keep my voice steady. And they're hunting us. Anything with power, he said, but you're the brightest flame in the dark right now. I swallowed hard. Then maybe I should hide. His gaze cut to me sharp. You're Luna, you don't hide, you stand. His tone was all alpha, command edged with something almost protective. I hated that it made my heart skip. Before I could respond, the elevator chimed. One of his men stepped out, breathless. Alpha, outer gate breach, west side. Henry's eyes hardened. How many? 4, maybe 5, fast. He didn't hesitate. Secure the lobby, everyone else ground floor now. He grabbed his jacket and turned to me. Stay behind me. I'm not helpless. His mouth twitched, the faintest ghost of a smile. Prove it. We took the elevator down together. The air hummed as we descended, the kind of silence that happens before a storm. My wolf stirred, packing beneath my skin. When the doors opened, the lobby lights flickered. The guards had formed a line near the glass doors, guns drawn but shaking slightly. Outside, the street was empty, too empty. No traffic, no people, just the sound of something scraping metal against stone. Then, a figure stepped into view. At first, it looked human until it didn't. The body moved wrong, liquid and wrong, eyes hollow, glowing white. The skin rippled, forming wolf-like shapes that melted and reformed. A shadow. I'd seen many things in my life, nothing like this. Henry's voice dropped to a growl. Hold fire until I say. The creature tilted its head, a grin spreading across its warped face. Its voice came in layers, echoing from nowhere. Alpha Voss, Luna of Silverpine, you open the door. The sound scraped down my spine. Henry stepped forward, calm. Then come take what's waiting behind it. The shadows moved, 4 of them sprinting with impossible speed. The guards opened fire, bullets sliced through air, but the shadows barely slowed. They blurred, reforming as they hit the glass. Henry slammed his palm down on a console. Metal shutters dropped, sealing most of the windows. Back, he barked. One shadow slipped through the last gap, a smear of black smoke solidifying behind the front desk. I caught its scent, cold stone, grave dust. My wolf surged, hot and furious. Now. I didn't think. I raised my hand, and the air rippled. The golden current that had marked me in the forest burst from my skin, forming a barrier between the guards and the creature. The shadow slammed into it, shrieking as light burned its edges. Henry looked back, startled for the first time. You're channeling it. I'm trying not to burn the building down, I gritted out. He was suddenly beside me, his energy folding around mine. His power felt darker iron and smoke, but it balanced the wild pulse of mine. Together, the barrier thickened. Hold it, he murmured. Let it come to you, not through you. The shadow shrieked again and split apart into mist. Henry lunged, his movement a blur, half-shifted, eyes silver, claws out. He caught the creature's center and drove it into the marble floor. Light flared again, then nothing but dust. The lobby went silent, except for the hiss of cooling metal. I sagged, breath shaking. The golden glow faded from my skin. Henry straightened, his eyes still glowing faintly. You did well. I managed a breathless laugh. You say that like you didn't just tear it apart. He wiped his hand on a cloth one of the guards offered. They'll send more. This was only to test our defenses. So we strengthen them. He gave a short nod, and we hunt the source. I frowned. You mean go back to the forest? Not yet. First, we trace who called them here. His voice softened. Someone in this city helped them find us. My stomach dropped. A traitor. He met my gaze. Or a desperate wolf, there's a difference. The sirens outside grew louder. Fire trucks, police, human authorities. Henry turned to his men. Clean this up. No bodies, no traces, the humans see nothing. He started toward the private elevator, then paused and looked back at me. Come on, there's someone you need to meet. The elevator took us deeper this time, underground. The doors opened onto a corridor humming with low energy, the scent of iron and ozone thick in the air. This is the Syndicate's heart, Henry said. Only those marked by me can enter. At the end of the hall was a glass door etched with the same crescent symbol. Inside waited a room lined with monitors, maps, and strange metallic sigils pulsing faint blue. A woman sat at the main console, pale hair tied back, sharp eyes gleaming. She looked up and smiled faintly when she saw Henry. You brought the Luna. Rhea, he said by way of introduction. My strategist and our best tracker. Rhea's gaze swept over me, assessing. So the stories were true. Which ones? I asked. That the moon gave Silverpine a wolf who could command light. I blinked. I can barely control it. That's still more than most, she said. Then, turning to Henry, the readings spiked right before the attack. Someone's channeling the same current from across the river district. Henry's expression darkened. Name. Rhea hesitated. We traced the signal to an old chapel, the one your father used before you took control. The room went quiet. I looked at him. Your father. He didn't answer for a long moment. Then softly, he built the syndicate, and he tried to bind the forest's power for himself. You think he's alive? I think his sins are. He turned toward the door. Prepare the team, we leave at sundown. Rhea nodded and returned to the console. When we were alone, I said quietly, you don't have to do this alone. He looked back, something unreadable in his eyes. You're bound to me now, Luna. I don't have a choice. I stepped closer, close enough that the light from the monitors brushed across his face. That's not what I meant. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he exhaled, shoulders easing slightly. Be ready, Sophina. When we open that chapel, the shadows won't be the only ghosts waiting. By the time the sun slipped behind the skyline, the air in the city had changed. The wind carried the tang of rain and exhaust, and under it, something sharper, power waking. Rhea met us at the basement exit with 2 guards in plain clothes and a small case of weapons that looked more ceremonial than lethal. Silver-edged daggers, black bullets etched with crescents. Use them only if you must, Henry said as he checked the chamber of his pistol. Shadows feed on chaos. Don't give them a storm to swallow. He handed me a smaller blade, its hilt wrapped in dark leather. It answers to light, so do you. I held it carefully. It's warm. It remembers who forged it. We left the tower through a tunnel that opened near the river district. The air there was colder, thicker. The streets were nearly empty, only flickering lamps and stray cats weaving between trash bins. Ahead, the old chapel loomed, stone blackened by time, windows boarded, the bell tower cracked like a scar. Yet faint silver mist leaked from the seams around the doors. Henry stopped a few paces away. Whatever's inside, it's feeding on the current we released. Then we cut the flow. He glanced at me approving. Stay close. We stepped inside. The smell hit first, dust, candle wax, and something sweet, metallic. The nave stretched wide, pews shattered and scattered, moonlight slanting through broken glass. At the altar's base, a circle of runes glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. Henry crouched, brushing his fingers across the nearest mark. Not shadow work, this is older. A whisper drifted from the far aisle. Leave it be, son. I froze. Did you hear? He straightened slowly, eyes narrowing toward the shadows between pillars. I did. The air grew heavy. From the darkness stepped a figure, tall, lean, wrapped in a coat that once might have been black. The face beneath the hood was pale, scarred, familiar in its sharpness. Henry went still. Father. The man smiled faintly. You still call me that. My breath caught. The resemblance was clear, same eyes colder, same jaw crueler. You died 15 years ago, Henry said flatly. Buried, yes. Forgotten, never. His voice carried the weight of dust and hunger. You opened the seal, boy. You finished what I began. You bound shadows to your own pack, Henry said. You turned them into monsters. His father chuckled. Monsters keep the empire running. Without them, the city eats itself. The lights flickered. From the corners of the chapel, dark shapes began to form, half men, half smoke, crawling out of the cracks in the floor. I stepped forward, blade drawn. You're draining the forest's power. He turned his gaze on me, curious. The lunar of light, you should be grateful. I'm giving your kind immortality. By hollowing their souls, I said. Souls are currency, power is legacy. Henry's growl was low, animal. You lost both when you sold your pack to the dark. His father lifted a hand. Shadows moved instantly, circling us. I felt my wolf surge, golden light flickering along my arms. Henry glanced at me once. Ready. Always. We moved together. He struck first, swift, silent, precise. His claws tore through one shadow's chest, the body bursting into ash. I followed, letting instinct guide me. The blade hummed as I swung, slicing through mist that screamed when it met light. Every movement between us found rhythm. His darkness, my brightness, like two halves of the same pulse. But the shadows kept coming. They poured from the walls, from the cracks beneath the altar, each one stronger, hungrier. Henry's father stood at the center, smiling as if conducting a symphony. "You can't kill hunger, son." Henry drove his fist through another creature, shouting over the roar. "Then I'll starve it." The runes at the altar flared brighter. I realized what they formed, an anchor, binding the shadows to the world. The sigils fed from the same current running through my mark. "Henry," I yelled, "it's drawing from me." He turned, saw the glow climbing my wrist. Without hesitation, he was beside me, gripping my hand. His power surged through me, cold and sharp but steady, forcing the current back toward the runes. "Focus," he murmured. "Match me." I closed my eyes, letting our energies align, the gold of my light winding through the silver of his. Together we pressed outward. The altar cracked. A wave of air burst through the chapel, throwing shadows back like torn smoke. Henry's father staggered, eyes blazing. "You think love will save you?" he hissed. Henry's voice was calm, deadly. "No, but unity might." The last rune shattered. The shadows screamed and imploded, sucked into the cracks as the floor split. Light poured upward, pure, searing, cleansing. When it faded, silence. The altar was gone. The floor burned clean except for one figure, Henry's father, kneeling, his body turning to ash from the inside out. He looked up once, almost peaceful. "You still carry my ambition," he whispered. "That's why she'll destroy you." The words hit like a curse. Then he crumbled, scattering into gray dust. I stood shaking, my hand still in Henry's. Our marks glowed faintly but no longer pulsed. "It's done," I breathed. "Not yet," he said quietly. He wasn't lying. Power this old doesn't die, it waits. He let go slowly, his eyes searching mine. And so do I. For a moment the world held still, just the faint echo of the city sirens above, the scent of smoke and rain. Then he reached up, brushing a streak of ash from my cheek with his thumb. "You keep saving me, Luna. One day I might let you." The heat in his voice stole my breath. I wanted to answer, but the ground trembled again, distant, thunder rolling under stone. Henry turned toward the doorway. "We leave. Whatever was chained here isn't gone, it's moving." I nodded, gripping the blade tighter. "Then let's end this before it reaches the surface." Together we stepped out into the rain, the city lights burning brighter than the stars, unaware that something ancient had just stirred beneath its streets. Rain slicked down the cracked pavement, washing soot from my hands, but not from my thoughts. Behind us, the chapel smoldered, stone hissing, faint silver light seeping from its fractures like the last breath of something unwilling to die. Henry walked ahead in silence, collar turned up against the storm. The city's noise, the horns, the sirens felt far away, muted beneath the weight of what we'd unleashed. I caught up to him. "You said it's moving. What did you mean?" He didn't look at me. "My father anchored the shadows to the chapel. When we broke the seal, the anchor broke too. Whatever led them is free now." "The Shadow Lord." The words felt strange, heavy. He gave a single nod. "The oldest one, the first to lose his wolf." We turned down a narrow street, lights flickering over puddles that mirrored the storm. I could feel the bond between us humming faintly, the same gold-and-silver pulse that had saved us. Only now it pulsed faster, uneasy, as if warning us. Ria's voice crackled through the earpiece Henry wore. "Alpha, movement near Sector 9. Cameras failing in sequence. It's not human." Henry's reply was calm, too calm. "Seal the lower exits. Keep the civilians off the streets." "Already trying," she said. "But whatever it is, it's heading for you." The line went dead. He looked at me, rain dripping from his lashes. "You still want to stand?" I lifted my chin. "I'm not going back to hiding." Something like pride flickered across his face. "Then stay close." We reached the bridge that cut across the river, the same water that once carried the forest's current beneath it. Lightning split the sky, white and sharp, illuminating the shape standing at the center. It was tall, cloaked, motionless. Around it, the rain curved as if afraid to touch. The Shadow Lord. When he turned, his face wasn't a face at all, just darkness shaped like memory, eyes burning pale gold. Children of light, the voice said, echoing from every surface. You unbound what I was promised. Henry stepped forward, shoulders squared. You were promised nothing. The forest gave power, not ownership. The figure's laughter was soft and hollow. You carry your father's arrogance well. Something moved behind him, smaller shadows crawling along the bridge rails. I counted 7, maybe 8. Henry's hand brushed mine briefly. When I move, don't think, just follow the current. Follow it where? He didn't answer. He was already moving. The first shadow lunged. Henry met it mid-leap, claws flaring silver. I swung my blade in the same heartbeat, catching another before it reached his back. The air cracked with light. The Lord didn't flinch. He raised a hand and the bridge shuddered. Dark tendrils whipped from the pavement, striking like serpents. One coiled around my ankle, cold as ice. I gasped and slashed downward. The blade burned through it, leaving smoke. Henry was everywhere, faster, darker, his wolf half shone beneath human skin. But the shadows kept reforming, drawn to him like magnets to metal. I felt the energy building inside me again, gold heat under my ribs. My wolf whispered, "Let it out or it will drown you." So I did. Light burst from me in a ring that sent the nearest shadows flying. The Lord staggered, cloak flaring like wings. Henry shielded his eyes, then shouted, "Control it." I'm trying. The light dimmed but didn't fade. It coiled around us both, forming a circle, his silver thread winding through my gold until they fused. The Lord hissed, "So the bond is real." He thrust his arm forward, sending a wave of black energy straight at us. Henry caught me around the waist and turned, taking the hit across his back. The force drove us to the ground. "Henry." He grunted, pushing up, eyes glowing bright now, wolf close to the surface. "Stay behind me." Blood, or something like it, ran down his arm, darker than crimson. I pressed my hand to the wound, instinctive. Light flared beneath my palm, sealing the gash. He stared at me, breath rough. "You're healing me." "I guess the forest likes you," I said, voice shaking. He gave a small, incredulous laugh. "That makes one of us." Another crack of thunder. The Lord advanced, slower now, voice almost curious. The bond between light and shadow, how poetic. Let me see how strong it breaks. The bridge shook again, splitting down the center. Water surged upward in spirals of mist. Henry caught my hand. "Jump." "What?" He didn't wait for agreement. He pulled me over the edge as the bridge exploded behind us. Cold slammed into us. For a heartbeat, there was only darkness and water and the roar of collapsing stone. Then his arm was around me, pulling me toward the surface. We broke through gasping, the river dragging us beneath the bridge's remains. We drifted to the bank, coughing, soaked to the bone. I rolled onto my back, breathless. "Tell me that was your plan." He coughed once, half-smile flickering. "Improvised." Lightning flashed again, revealing the Lord still standing on the fractured bridge, untouched by the storm. Henry pushed to his feet. "He's not finished." The Lord's voice rolled across the water. "You cannot kill what has no form, Alpha, but I can unmake what you love." The threat hung between us. My wolf snarled inside me, sharp and protective. Henry's gaze locked on the figure. "He wants you, Sophina. He feeds on your light." "Then he'll choke on it." He almost smiled again. "That's the spirit." The Shadow Lord's shape began to dissolve, scattering into dozens of smaller fragments that slid down the river like ink. "Where is he going?" I asked. Henry's eyes narrowed. "Underground. He'll strike the packs first, spread before we can stop him." I looked at the collapsing bridge, the ruined skyline beyond. "Then we go after him." He turned to me, rain dripping from his hair, expression fierce. "If we go now, there's no coming back. No council, no safety, no law, only war." "Then we fight it." For a moment he just watched me, the storm reflected in his eyes. Then he nodded slowly. "You really are a Luna." "I told you, I don't hide." He stepped closer until I could feel the warmth radiating off him despite the rain. "And I don't run from what's mine to protect." I wanted to argue, I'm not yours, but the words stuck somewhere between my breath and his. The wind howled across the river, carrying the faintest echo of laughter, the Lord's fatting call. Henry's jaw tightened. We end him before dawn. I met his gaze, every nerve alive. Together. The bond between us pulsed once, bright, defiant, alive. The city lights trembled across the river, broken by ripples that still carried the Shadow Lord's echo. Henry stood beside me, rain running down his jaw, his coat torn from the fall. He's gone underground, he said, voice steady but tight. That network of tunnels was built before the humans ever settled here. If he reaches the old catacombs, he'll feed on every lost soul buried there. I wiped water from my face. Then we find him before he feeds. He looked at me for a long second, something unreadable in his eyes. You're bleeding. I glanced down. A thin line along my arm glowed faintly gold, the cut from the fall sealed by light. It's fine. It's not, he murmured, stepping closer. Every time you draw on that power it takes from you, you're burning your own lifeblood. The wind hissed through broken steel. You didn't tell me that before. Because you wouldn't have listened. He wasn't wrong. I sheathed the blade. Lead the way, Alpha, before I start glowing bright enough to draw every monster in the city. We followed the river until the water disappeared beneath an arched tunnel half hidden by vines. A rusted gate blocked the entrance, its lock eaten away by time. Henry pressed his palm against the metal. It melted like wax. Convenient trick, I said. Inherited sin, he replied, stepping into the dark. The air grew heavy immediately. Wet stone, decay, the hum of forgotten energy. The deeper we walked, the louder the whispering became, voices curling along the walls. Turn back, turn back. I tightened my grip on the dagger. They're echoes. He nodded. The souls my father traded away. The Shadow Lord uses them as bait. Bait for what? For us. The tunnel widened into a chamber where the ceiling dripped with roots. In the center stood a pool, black, still, rimmed with bones turned silver by time. Henry circled it slowly. This was once a sanctuary. Wolves came here to swear loyalty. Now it's a grave. The water rippled though nothing touched it. Then a shape rose from beneath, a man's outline made of smoke and memory. The Shadow Lord's voice slithered through the chamber. You bring me your Luna so soon, Henry Voss. How obedient the sun becomes when bound by light. Henry's claws glinted. You're a parasite pretending to be prophecy. And you're a curse wrapped in flesh, the voice answered. Shall I show her what you hide? The pool brightened, forming scenes on its surface. Henry younger, blood on his hands, men kneeling before him. Then another image, a forest burning, wolves running. My heart tightened. What is that? He didn't look at me. The night I took my father's empire, I thought I could purify it. Instead, I destroyed half my pack. The Shadow Lord's laughter rippled like static. He killed to protect you, Luna. He carries your mark long before he met you. Enough, I shouted, light flaring from my skin. The images shattered. Henry grabbed my wrist, grounding me. Don't let it feed on guilt. That's its language. I forced a breath. Then what's ours? He met my eyes. Trust. Before I could answer, the Lord struck. Darkness surged from the pool, wrapping around Henry's chest and dragging him toward the water. Henry. I dove after him, hands glowing. The current burned cold, screaming voices clawing at my ears. He struggled beneath the surface, the shadow constricting like iron chains. I pressed my palms to the black water. You don't take him. Light shot through the pool, splitting it in two. For a heartbeat I saw Henry beneath, eyes open, fangs bared, reaching for me. Our hands met. The bond ignited. Silver and gold spiraled outward, ripping through the chamber walls. The Shadow Lord's scream rose higher, distorted, blood for blood. If you break me, you break yourselves. Pain lanced through my arm, the mark blazing hot. I felt something tear inside, like part of me was leaving. Henry broke the surface, dragging me with him. We collapsed on the stones, the water steaming around us. He caught my face in his hands, eyes glowing fiercely. "Sophina, look at me." "I'm fine," I whispered, though my vision swam. "You gave it too much. You'd have drowned." His grip eased, thumb brushing my jaw. "You stubborn, impossible Luna." Despite the ache in every muscle, I almost smiled. "You say that like it's a compliment." "It is." He pulled me closer, forehead resting against mine. For a moment the world narrowed to our breathing, the storm outside forgotten. The bond hummed between us, steady, fragile, alive. But beneath it, I felt something else, a thread of darkness woven through the light, the Shadow Lord's promise. Henry felt it too, his voice dropped to a whisper. "He marked us." I swallowed. "Then we finish this before it spreads." He nodded, helping me stand. The pool behind us had gone still again, its surface reflecting only the faint shimmer of our joined marks. "We bleed together," I said. "We end him together." A rare softness touched his expression. "That's the first order I'll never refuse." As we left the chamber, the tunnels echoed with distant thunder, the sound of power shifting, of something old preparing to rise once more. And deep in my chest, my wolf whispered a warning I didn't yet understand. The bond of blood always asks for a heart in return. The tunnels behind us whispered, as if the stone itself remembered what we'd done. Every step echoed with that whisper, blood for blood, bond for bond. Henry walked ahead, silent, shoulders tight beneath his wet shirt. The dim light flickered over his skin, tracing veins that shimmered faint silver. His power was unstable. I could feel it vibrating through the air. "You're fatting," I said quietly. He didn't turn. "No, it's the bond adjusting." I caught up to him, stepping in front of his path. "Don't lie to me, your aura's dimming." He stopped, jaw tense. "You gave too much to save me. Now the bond's trying to balance." "By draining you." His mouth twitched, a ghost of a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's poetic, really. We're linked, Sophina. Your pain becomes mine, your strength too. The moon has a cruel sense of balance." "Then how do we stop it?" He looked at me for a long moment, eyes reflecting the faint golden glow still pulsing from my wrist. "We don't. We endure it." "That's not good enough." He brushed past me, voice low. "It's all we have." When we reached the surface again, the rain had stopped, but the air smelled of lightning. The city lights shimmered off puddles like molten glass. Rhea waited by the car, expression pale. "Alpha!" She hesitated when she saw his face. "You look." "Don't say it," he muttered. She handed him a sealed phone. "The council sent a message. They know what happened at the chapel. They're calling for both of you." "Let them wait," he said. "We've got a curse to break." Rhea glanced at me. "The readings spiked again right before dawn. Your bond's leaking energy. Half the city's sensors picked it up." My stomach turned. "They'll trace us." Henry nodded grimly. "We move now. Safe house on the east line. No one follows." He slid into the driver's seat, motion sharp, impatient. I climbed in beside him, and Rhea's worried face disappeared in the rear view as we sped into the waking city. The safe house sat at the edge of the industrial zone, an abandoned warehouse from the outside, all concrete and rust. Inside, it was surprisingly warm, the air faintly scented with cedar. Henry shut the door behind us and leaned against it for a moment, breathing hard. The marks on his wrist glowed faintly, spreading threads of silver up his forearm. I reached for him instinctively. "It's getting worse." "Don't." He caught my hand before I could touch the mark. "If we connect again while it's unstable, it'll take more from you." "I don't care." "I do." His voice snapped sharper than he meant, then softer. "Don't make me lose you to fix me." I drew back slowly. "You really think that's how this ends?" He didn't answer. Lightning flashed beyond the window, throwing his shadow across the floor, tall, tense, fraying at the edges. My wolf stirred uneasily inside me. "He's changing," she whispered, "not by will." Henry's breath hitched once. When he looked up, his eyes weren't gray anymore. They burned silver, too bright, too wild. "Henry," I whispered. He flinched, pressing a hand to his chest as if to steady his pulse. The Lord's mark, it's inside me. He's trying to control the bond from within. Then fight him. He laughed hoarsely. You think I haven't been? The glow intensified, veins of silver racing up his neck. His voice deepened, distorted. Get back. No. I said. His claws ripped through the wood paneling beside him as he slammed a hand against the wall, leaving marks that hissed with smoke. You don't understand. He's feeding on my rage. The more I care, the more he controls me. My throat tightened. Then stop pretending you don't care. That caught him. His breathing slowed, heavy and uneven. You always do this. You push when others run. Because I see you, I said, stepping closer despite the light flaring from his skin. You're not him. You're not your father. You're not the monster the city fears. He laughed again, rough and pained. Then what am I, Sophina? I stopped inches from him, the only one who fought the darkness and stayed human. For a heartbeat, the glow dimmed. His claws retracted, trembling hands closing into fists. Then his forehead touched mine, his breath warm against my lips. You're going to destroy me, he murmured. Then we'll go down together. The words weren't planned. They just spilled out, like truth finally finding its voice. He exhaled slowly, silver light bleeding away until his eyes were human again. The storm outside calmed. Inside, silence stretched, fragile but whole. Whatever this curse wants, I whispered, it can't take what we don't surrender. He looked at me like he wanted to believe that. You think defiance will save us? It saved the forest. He smiled faintly, tired. You really are dangerous. I smiled back faintly. I learned from the best. We stayed like that for a while, standing close, breathing the same air, listening to the faint hum of the city through the walls. Finally, he stepped back. We'll rest for an hour, then we head east. The old records mention a witch who helped bind the first shadow. If she's alive, she'll know how to break this. A witch. Not just a witch, a blood seer. His gaze flicked to my wrist. And she'll want payment. What kind of payment? He hesitated. A memory. The thought chilled me. Mine or yours? He turned toward the window, voice low. Whichever she chooses. I wrapped my cloak tighter, unease settling like fog. So either way, we lose a piece of ourselves. He didn't answer. Outside, dawn began bleeding through the clouds, soft and gray. For the first time since I'd met him, Henry looked almost fragile, powerful, yes, but weary in a way that had nothing to do with strength. I moved closer again. You're not alone in this. He looked over his shoulder, eyes softer now. That's what scares me. The words lingered longer than the thunder. When the sun finally broke through, he was sitting at the desk, writing something in a small leather-bound book. What's that? I asked. He closed it before I could see. Insurance. Against what? He stood, slipping the book into his coat. In case I don't come back from what's next. Henry. He stopped me with a look, not cold but final. If the Shadow Lord takes me again, you run. Promise me. No. Promise me. I won't. He exhaled, shaking his head. Of course not. I met his gaze, steady. You didn't choose this bond. Neither did I, but it's ours now, and I won't leave you to fight it alone. Something in him broke then, just a flicker, the mask slipping. His voice came out quieter. Then you better hold on, Luna, because the curse will ask for more than blood next time. I stepped closer, my hand finding his. The mark beneath our skin pulsed once in sync. I'll give it everything, I said, but it won't take us both. He looked down at our joined hands, the faint shimmer of light between them. Then let's hope the moon agrees. The clock struck 6. Outside, the city exhaled, brief, deceptive calm before something darker. And deep inside my chest, my wolf whispered again, sharper now, more certain. The heart's price is always love. The sun rose pale behind the city's haze, painting everything in the color of old silver. Henry stood at the edge of the warehouse roof, staring east where the light touched the skyline. His coat fluttered in the wind. From here, he looked carved out of the morning itself, still, unreadable, too steady to be human. When he finally turned, his voice was rough from a night without sleep. "She's waiting in the ruins outside Silverpine. A blood seer named Urindra. No one sees her twice." I pulled my cloak tighter. "Then will be the exception." He gave a faint smile. "That's what I like about you, Luna. You never think the odds apply." The road back. We drove until the buildings thinned into the ghost of forest. The air changed first, the scent of earth returning, damp pine cutting through city smoke. My wolf stirred, uneasy but alert. "She lives this close to Silverpine?" I asked. "She feeds off what's left of it," Henry said. "The boundary between old magic and new." When we left the car, the forest swallowed the sound of everything else. The path wound through moss and broken stone, ending at a hollow tree so wide 3 wolves could stand inside it. Henry touched its bark. Runes flared red. The hollow opened like a door. Inside, the air smelled of iron and herbs. Candles burned blue, their smoke coiling in patterns that looked like faces. And there she was. Urindra sat behind a table of bones polished to pearl. Her eyes were crimson, not bright, but deep like wine. "Henry Voss," she said, her tones soft and ageless. "And the lunar of light. I wondered when the forest's debt would crawl back to me." Henry bowed slightly. "We broke the seal, the bond." "I can smell it," she inhaled, lips curving. "Silver and gold, beautiful, dangerous." I stepped forward. "We need to end the curse." Her smile widened. "End? You mean balance. There's no ending what was written by blood." Henry's jaw tightened. "Name your price." Urindra's gaze slid to me. "It's not his to pay." A shiver went through me. "Then what do you want?" "Memories," she said simply. "A heart's worth, the first memory of love." Henry stiffened. "No." Her crimson eyes flicked to him. "You'd rather die slow? The Shadow Lord's thread is already inside you. By moonrise, it will own your body. By dawn, your soul." He said nothing. I swallowed. "If I give you the memory, he lives." "For a time," she said. "But understand the weight, you'll forget why you ever cared. The bond will remain, but hollow." Henry grabbed my arm. "You can't." "I can." "You don't know what that means." I met his gaze. "I know exactly what it means. I'd rather lose a memory than lose you." His eyes darkened. "You'll lose more than that, Sophina. You'll lose yourself." Urindra's laughter floated around us. "How tragic. Wolves arguing over whose pain to keep." I turned back to her. "Do it." "The ritual." She rose, moving like smoke. "Then bleed on the mirror." A basin shimmered on the table, its surface liquid glass. I pressed my palm against it. The reflection rippled, Henry beside me, worry carved deep into every line of him. "Say what you offer," Urindra whispered. "My first memory of love," I said. Light flared beneath my hand, gold turning crimson. The pain wasn't physical. It was something pulling inward, tugging at the thread that tied every heartbeat to a face, a voice, a moment. Images flickered. A forest at dusk, a boy's hand catching mine, a promise whispered beneath the old moon tree. "I'll always find you." Then nothing. I gasped, stumbling back. The world tilted. Henry caught me, holding me upright. "Sophina." I blinked, confused. "Why are you crying?" He swallowed hard. "Because you kept your promise." I didn't understand what promise he meant. My head ached, a hollow where something precious had been. Urindra watched us pleased. "The balance resets, the curse weakens." Henry's mark faded from bright silver to faint gray. The trembling in his hands stopped. "It's done," she said, "for now." He exhaled, relief cutting through the silence. "What do we owe you besides blood?" She smiled thinly. "Only a warning. The Shadow Lord will come for what he's lost. Love taken is power stolen. He will hunger for it." Her gaze lingered on me. "And when he whispers your name, Luna, remember, you won't remember why you fear him." I frowned, unsettled. "I think I already don't." Henry's jaw tightened. "We leave." Urindra stepped aside, the door in the tree yawning open again. "Be quick. He'll smell your emptiness soon." The return. The rain began again as we reached the car. I leaned against the door, dizzy. I feel like a piece of me's missing. Henry started the engine, voice low. It is, and it saved me. I studied his profile, the sharp focus, the guilt written behind it. You're shaking. I can feel the Lord's thread fatting, but your light's dimmer. I'll survive. He glanced at me, eyes softer than I'd ever seen. You shouldn't have done it. Would you have, if it were me? He didn't answer. The silence said enough. We drove in quiet until the forest gave way to city lights again. Somewhere behind us, the Shadow Lord's laugh echoed faintly in the wind, as if mocking the sacrifice. My wolf stirred, uncertain. He smells the hole in your heart, she murmured, and he'll use it. I pressed a hand to my chest. Then I'll fill it with something stronger. Henry's hand brushed mine on the gear shift, light and hesitant. What's stronger than love? I looked at him, though I couldn't recall the warmth that should have met the word. Faith. He smiled faintly, but sadness lingered in it. Then hold on to that, Luna, because we're out of everything else. Nightfall. By the time we reached the tower, the sky had turned violet. Rhea met us at the entrance, pale with shock. The sensors, something's climbing out of the river. Big, fast. Henry's expression hardened. He's early. I felt the air thicken again, pressure pressing against my lungs. The Shadow Lord had found us. Rhea backed away. Alpha, the security field. Forget the field, Henry said. Get everyone out. He turned to me, eyes glowing faint silver again. You stay behind me. Not this time. I drew the dagger, its gold edge catching the light. He almost smiled. You don't even remember why you fight, and still you won't yield. Maybe that's who I am. Thunder cracked above the city. The windows of Voss Tower flashed white, and from the river below came a voice like the hiss of breaking glass. You paid the price, Luna. Now I'll collect what remains. Henry stepped forward, coat whipping in the wind. Let him come. I stood beside him, light flaring faintly through my veins, even as the ache of loss hollowed my chest. The bond between us pulsed weakly but alive. The storm above the city gathered into a spiral of black and gold, and at its center, a shadow began to take form taller than the tower, crowned in smoke. Henry's voice was calm, almost reverent. He's not coming for power anymore. Then what? His eyes found mine. For you. The Shadow Lord roared, and the city lights died. The world turned to silence before it screamed. One heartbeat the city hummed, neon, thunder, 1,000 lives breathing. The next, everything died. The lights, the engines, even the air. I felt the pulse of it under my skin, the Shadow Lord's call, crawling through the bond that tied me to Henry. It burned cold, like a chain turning to ice. Henry's voice cut through the dark. Rhea, backup power. Her answer came from the radio, crackled and faint. Everything's out, Alpha, even the generators. I gripped the edge of the glass wall, staring into the black horizon. Lightning spiderwebbed through clouds, lighting the storm that hung over the river. Every flash showed the same thing, shadows moving, climbing the tower walls. They're here, I whispered. Henry stepped beside me, coat swirling around his boots. Then we meet them halfway. He drew his pistol, the runes along its barrel glowing faint silver. Stay close, Luna. I nodded, pulling the dagger from my belt. The gold of it trembled faintly, hungry for light. My wolf stirred, fierce and ready. Let them come. We reached the top floor where the storm howled through shattered windows. Rain slanted sideways, painting the marble in silver streaks. Below us, the city was a sea of darkness, only the lightning revealing movement, hundreds of shadows swarming toward the base. Security team's gone, Rhea's voice crackled through the static. They're inside the lower levels. Henry's jaw tightened. Seal every elevator, flood the stairwells. I glanced at him. That'll trap them. It'll slow them. His eyes caught mine, steady, unflinching. You wanted a rebellion, Sophina. You have one now. Wolves, men, shadows, everyone choosing which world to die for. I wanted to answer, but a crash split the air. The far doors exploded inward, glass raining across the floor. The first shadows poured through, sleek, smoke-skinned, moving like spilled ink. Their eyes burned white, their mouths hollow. Henry fired twice. 2 dropped, dissolving into mist. The third darted toward me. I swung the dagger in a clean arc. Light burst from the blade, slicing through its form. The thing screamed, soundless, inhuman, and burst apart. More came. Ria's voice again. Pack reinforcements coming from Silverpine. They say the Luna called them. I froze. I didn't. But my wolf's voice echoed inside me. I did. Through the shattered windows, I saw them, dozens of shapes racing along the rooftops. Wolves, my wolves. Henry caught sight of them, surprise flashing in his eyes. You brought the forest to my city. Looks like we're even. He almost smiled before another explosion shook the tower. The battle turned chaos. Wolves crashed through windows, transforming midair. Shadows met them with shrieks that rattled bone. The entire floor became a storm of claws and light. Henry moved like a storm himself, every strike controlled, efficient. I stayed near, weaving gold through his silver, the 2 energies spiraling together. Wherever they met, the shadows burned away. Behind you, he shouted. I spun. A shadow twice the size of the others lunged from the elevator shaft. Henry grabbed me, pulling us both down as the creature struck the ceiling. The impact shattered stone. He rolled, pushing me clear. Get to the roof. It's drawing power from the storm. What about you? He rose, eyes already silver. I'll keep them here. No. He caught my hand, grip fierce. This is what you started. The rebellion needs its Luna above. Go. I saw the truth in his eyes, the resolve, the sacrifice already forming behind the command. My throat tightened. Don't die on me, Henry. He smiled faintly. Not before I make you hate me again. Then he shoved me toward the stairwell. The climb to the roof was chaos, sirens blaring from somewhere deep below, the entire building trembling. I burst through the final door into blinding rain. The storm was alive. Wind roared hard enough to bend metal. Lightning hit the spire, splitting it open. And there he was. The Shadow Lord, towering above the roof, half-formed and half-human, a crown of smoke writhing around his head. His voice rolled like thunder. You stole what was mine. I lifted the dagger. You can't steal what was never yours. You paid in love, Luna. I'll take the rest. He thrust out a hand. Darkness surged across the roof, swallowing the edges of the building. My feet slipped, the world tilted. Henry, I shouted. He appeared through the smoke, claws bared, shirt torn and soaked. Get behind me. The Lord laughed. How touching. The alpha who trades power for pity. Henry's snarl answered him. I trade it for her. He leapt forward, silver aura exploding around him. The Shadow Lord met him midair, light and dark colliding in a burst that shook the sky. The impact flung me backward. I hit the rail, breath knocked out, watching them struggle, 2 forces locked, neither giving. My wolf screamed inside me, pain tearing through our bond. He can't win alone. I staggered up, blood in my mouth, rain blinding me. The dagger pulsed in my hand, brighter than before. Moon Goddess, I whispered, if there's a debt left, take it from me. Power rushed through me like fire and ice combined. My body moved before thought could stop it. I ran straight into the storm, into them both. The light burst outward, gold and silver entwined, a single pulse that split the clouds. The Shadow Lord shrieked, his form unraveling, dragged upward into the lightning he'd summoned. Then silence. I collapsed to my knees. The roof was cracked, smoking. The storm broke, rain softening. Henry lay a few feet away, unmoving. I crawled to him, trembling. Henry, please. He opened his eyes slowly. The silver had faded to gray. You always were stubborn. Relief flooded me so hard I almost laughed. You're alive. Thanks to you. He tried to sit up, winced, then looked around. Where is he? Gone, for now. The air still hummed faintly, the kind of silence that follows a wound too deep to heal. Henry brushed wet hair from my face. You disobeyed me. I learned from the best. He smiled, faint but real. The city's safe for tonight. Lightning flickered once more in the distance, soft and tired. My wolf whispered inside me, quieter than before. The war isn't over. The moon still watches. I looked down at Henry, his hand still gripping mine, our marks faint but glowing together. Then we'll watch back. Below us, the lights of Voss Tower flickered on again, one by one, until the city breathed once more. And in that fragile light, for the first time since this began, I felt hope. The storm broke with a sigh, as if the sky had finally run out of anger. Rain slowed to mist. The city below glimmered in puddles and weak light, reborn but bruised. Henry's hand was still in mine, cold but alive. He tried to sit, failed once, then gave a shaky laugh. Remind me never to fight a god again. I squeezed his fingers. You shouldn't have to remind me. You should be resting. He looked at me, eyes gray now, human again. Luna, I think rest isn't part of my story anymore. Then make it part of mine, I said, helping him to his feet. Below, sirens began to wail, the human world finally catching up to what the wolves and shadows had already survived. The rebellion's arrival. The elevator shaft was ruined, so we climbed down the emergency stairs, step by step, Henry leaning against me more than he wanted to admit. When we reached the lower floor, the doors to the lobby burst open. Wolves, my pack filled the hall, drenched and wild-eyed. Rhea stood at their head, gun still drawn but trembling. She saw us and froze. Alpha Voss. Henry straightened, every inch still alpha even when broken. Stand down. A growl rippled through the Silverpine wolves behind her. Elder Rowan stepped forward, his coat soaked, eyes dark. So the rumors were true. The Luna stands with the city alpha. I met his glare, the one who saved your wolves from being devoured by shadows. He ignored that. You brought ruin here, Sophina. The moon sent you to heal the packs, not to bind yourself to the man who murdered your father. The words hit like a blade. Henry's shoulders stiffened, but I caught his arm before he could speak. Enough, I said quietly. Rowan's gaze flicked to him. You can hide behind her light, Voss, but blood calls for blood. The forest will judge you. Henry nodded once calm, then let it. He stepped forward out of my grasp, his voice steady. I surrender. The hall fell silent. Rhea's mouth opened. Henry. He raised a hand. The war between the packs and my syndicate ends tonight. My wolves follow the Luna's command now. I stared at him. Henry, no. He turned, eyes meeting mine. You wanted peace. This is the price. I shook my head. Peace built on guilt isn't peace. It's survival. Rowan's expression softened slightly, almost pitying. You'd give yourself to our tribunal. Henry nodded. Yes. I stepped in front of him, voice breaking. Then I go with him. No, Henry said sharply. You've already lost enough. I lifted my chin. And you think I'd watch you die for me? For a moment his mask cracked, just enough for the pain beneath to show. If that's what keeps you alive, yes. Rowan gestured toward the exit. Then come, both of you. The council waits at the forest border. The walk through the city. We left the tower on foot. The rain had turned to drizzle, the streets steamed. Wolves followed us, silent shadows of fur and bone. People peered from windows, whispering, rumors already forming. Henry walked beside me, hands bound in glowing silver chains that pulsed faintly with the moon's light. Even weakened, he carried himself like a king. Does it hurt? I asked. He smiled faintly, only when I breathe. Then stop trying to be noble. Nobility's all that's left when everything else burns. We crossed the bridge, the one still scarred from the battle. Below, the river churned black, whispering secrets from the deep. Henry looked out over it. When I built this city, I thought I could bury what I was, make wolves behave like men. Turns out men are worse. I touched his arm gently. You're not your father. No, he said. I'm his consequence. The silence that followed, felt heavier than the chains. At the border, Silverpine greeted us with fog and the smell of pine needles. Fires burned near the clearing, torches, not war flames. The council stood in a circle of stones, the moon above them thin and pale. Rowan raised his staff. Alpha Voss of the city pack, you stand accused of blood crimes against Silverpine. Speak. Henry lifted his head. I did what I thought would save my people. If that makes me guilty, then I am. Murmurs rippled through the wolves. Rowan turned to me. And you, Luna Hilton, you defied the bond of your birth pack, raised the city Alpha's mark above ours. What say you? I met his gaze. That the moon doesn't care for bloodlines. It cares for balance. Without him, we'd all be shadows by now. Elder Myra stepped forward, eyes kind but wary. Then let balance decide. The old way, moon trial. Henry frowned. You mean combat? Spirit combat, she corrected. The bond between you will be tested. If it holds, you live. If it breaks, the darkness takes what it's owed. I turned to him, heart hammering. You can't fight like this. He gave a faint smile. Good thing it's not a fight, it's faith. The trial. They drew a circle of ash and moonlight. Henry and I stepped inside. The torches dimmed, the forest wind stilled. Rowan's voice echoed. Begin. I felt the ground tremble under my feet. The bond in my wrist blazed awake, gold twisting with silver, alive and wild. Then I saw it, the Shadow Lord's echo, rising between us, born of our fear. His voice slithered through the mist. One heart must stop for the other to beat. Henry's eyes locked on mine. Don't listen. The world fell away. We stood in the bond's dream space, half light, half dark, every heartbeat a memory. Flashes, the ritual fire, the city battle, his hand catching mine in the storm. Then pain, sharp, spreading through my chest. The bond was splitting. Henry moved toward me, shouting, Stay with me. The shadow's shape darted behind him, whispering, She took your power. Let her fade. Henry turned, fury in his voice. She gave it back. He struck through the shadow with his bare hand, silver light exploding outward. It screamed, dissolving into sparks that rained down like ash. When the last ember faded, the bond steadied. Our marks glowed steady gold and silver again, heartbeat to heartbeat. The forest exhaled. We opened our eyes. The council stood frozen, torches flaring bright. Rowan lowered his staff slowly. The moon accepts. Henry staggered. I caught him before he fell. Myra's voice carried softly. The Alpha's debt is paid. Aftermath. They lifted the chains from his wrists. The silver marks burned away. Henry looked at me, exhaustion etched deep but relief shining through it. Looks like you won. We. He smiled faintly. Same thing now. The pack began to disperse, whispers fading into the mist. Only Rowan lingered. The forest watches you both. Don't forget which side of it you stand on. When he left, the clearing fell quiet again. Henry sank to his knees, palms on the earth. It's still humming, he said. The forest, the city, the power we freed, it's finally balanced. I knelt beside him. Then maybe the moon's debt is over. He looked up, eyes catching the weak light. Not yet, one thing left. I frowned. What? He reached into his coat and pulled out the small leather-bound book I'd seen before. He handed it to me. What is this? My record. Every deal, every crime, every wolf I failed. Burn it. Let the city start clean. I hesitated. Henry. He smiled, tired but certain. The Alpha has to fall for the pack to rise. I threw the book into the nearest fire. The pages caught instantly, curling into gold and black flame. We watched until the last spark died. He took my hand then, the mark between us glowing softly in the moonlight. Now it's your world to build, Luna. I shook my head. Ours. The night wind carried the scent of rain and pine. Above us, the thin moon brightened, a sliver of promise in the clearing sky. The fire had almost died when the wind changed. It carried a scent that didn't belong. Smoke, oil, gunpowder. City air. Henry's head lifted first. They're coming. I felt it too, an ache through the bond, the warning hum of steel machines moving toward the forest. Ria's voice crackled through the comm at Henry's belt. Alpha, former lieutenants broke from command. They're marching here with mercs. They think you've surrendered the syndicate to the Pax. He looked at me. They'll burn everything to reclaim it. Then we make our stand where it began, I said. The moon's ground. Gathering of wolves. Word spread fast. By nightfall, hundreds filled the clearing, wolves in human and beast form, city guards loyal to Henry, forest kin loyal to me. For once, no one snarled at the other. I climbed the stone dais where rituals once bound me, the same place I defied them all. They'll reach Silverpine by dawn, I called out, voice echoing through the mist. They come with fire, with greed, with fear, but fear is nothing new to us. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I felt their pulse, their breath, their doubt. We are not city wolves or forest wolves tonight, I said. We are the pack the moon forgot to name. The forest answered with a low tremor, as if approving. Henry stepped up beside me, still pale but standing tall. If I die, the syndicate dies with me. If I live, it belongs to her. Ria bowed low. Then we fight for both worlds. I met Henry's eyes, side by side. He nodded, always. The invasion. Dawn broke red. Engines rumbled across the valley, headlights slicing through mist. Armored trucks, black banners with the crescent-tanned fang insignia Henry once commanded. They stopped at the edge of the woods. A man stepped out, slick suit, silver tie, eyes colder than metal. I recognized him, Marcus Vale, Henry's former second-in-command. Alpha Voss, he called. You gave the city to wolves, I'll take it back in fire. Henry's answer was calm. You'll try. Marcus raised his arm. Burn it. Flame cannons hissed, streams of fire cutting into the tree line. Wolves roared and scattered. I felt the heat lash my skin and the moon's pull surge through me. My wolf rose, golden eyes flooding my vision. Now, she whispered, let the forest breathe through you. I lifted both hands. The ground trembled, roots bursting upward to shield the pack. Rain clouds spun into existence overhead, the moon fatting, but its echo still mine to command. Water met fire in a clash of steam and light. Henry charged ahead, half-shifted, claws gleaming silver. Every movement was poetry and fury. Ria's rifle cracked beside him, wolves tore through the flames. I followed, the bond between us a line of heat guiding my steps. Marcus saw me and laughed. The Luna thinks she's a goddess. Not a goddess, I said, voice ringing across the clearing. Just the balance your greed forgot. He raised his gun. Henry was faster. In a blur, Henry slammed into him, disarming and pinning him against a burning tree. Marcus spat blood. You traded one prison for another. Henry's eyes gleamed. Maybe, but I built the door this time. He drove his claws into the ground beside Marcus's head instead of his throat. Leave. Tell the city the wolves protect it now. Marcus hesitated, then vanished into the smoke. The mercs saw their leader retreat and faltered. The wolves surged forward as one. In minutes, it was over, fire extinguished, steel crushed by root and rain. Aftermath. The valley steamed. Wolves tended to the wounded. The air smelled of ash and new earth. Henry limped toward me, blood streaking his sleeve. You didn't just save the forest, Sophina. You ended the war. I looked around at Ria embracing a wounded guard, at Rowan bowing his head to city wolves, at the dawn breaking clean. No, I said softly. We began something new. He smiled faintly. Then what do we call it? The Luna's pact. He nodded once, satisfied. Fitting. We stood in silence as the first real sunlight in days touched the clearing. My wolf was quiet now, content. Does it ever stop? I asked. The fighting, the proving. Henry's gaze followed the sunrise. Not for leaders, but maybe for lovers. I turned to him. And which are we? He smiled, slow and tired. Both, if the moon allows it. The moon's reckoning. Night returned sooner than expected, clear and bright. The moon hung full above the forest, a perfect silver eye. Its light spilled across the clearing, and for a moment the world shimmered. A shape formed within the glow, tall, luminous, neither woman nor wolf. The moon goddess. Every wolf bowed, every sound died. Her voice was wind and water together. You have balanced what I divided. The dead of the forest is forgiven. I fell to one knee, heart pounding. Then the curse is ended. All bonds demand renewal. Her gaze rested on Henry. He carries shadow still. Henry lowered his head. If my darkness threatens her, take me instead. The light flickered. Sacrifice is not the lesson, Alpha. Surrender is. She turned to me. Do you release him, Luna? I met Henry's eyes. He looked both proud and afraid. Never, I said. The goddess smiled faintly. Then so be it. One soul, two hearts. The light burst outward, wrapping us both. Pain, warmth, memory, every moment we'd fought, every choice, every whisper of love flashed between us. When the light faded, our marks had changed. No longer gold and silver, but the same pale white as moonlight itself. Balanced. The goddess's voice faded into the wind. Lead them well. The world will remember the night wolves learned mercy. Then she was gone. Dawn again. The pack gathered as morning returned. No smoke, no fear, only the soft rustle of a living forest. Henry stood beside me, bandaged, tired, but smiling. So, Lunar of Light, he said, what does peace even look like? I looked at the wolves mingling with city men, at the rebuilt fires, at the faint glow still tracing our wrists. Like this. He chuckled softly. Messy. Real, I corrected. He slipped his arm around my shoulders. Then let's keep it that way. We walked toward the rising sun. Behind us, the forest breathed, alive again. My wolf whispered one last time. The debt is paid. The story begins. And in that light, with his hand in mine, I finally believed her. It took 21 days for the smoke to stop rising from the valley. 21 dawns for the city and the forest to breathe together again. I still wake before sunrise most mornings out of habit. The air feels different now, lighter, easier, like the forest itself has exhaled. From the balcony of the rebuilt council hall, I can see both worlds, the glass towers glittering on one horizon and the sea of pines stretching across the other. The wind carries two heartbeats, the hum of machines and the song of wolves, and somehow they match. Peace was never silent. It was this, balanced noise. Henry's footsteps approached behind me, quiet but unmistakable. He still moved like an alpha, every step measured, as if he was weighing the world before it could weigh him. You're up early again, he said, voice rough from sleep. I smiled, not turning yet. You're supposed to be resting. So are you. I can't rest when the forest keeps whispering. He came to stand beside me, coat draped over his shoulders, hair damp from the shower. The faint silver trace of his old mark still glimmered beneath his cuff. What does it whisper now? He asked. That you still owe me breakfast. He laughed, soft and genuine. Lunar of peace, conqueror of pancakes. You mock the goddess's chosen, Henry Voss. He leaned in closer. Constantly. I elbowed him lightly, but my heart was warm. There was something sacred about laughter after war. Down below, the training field was alive again. Wolves ran drills beside human guards, uniforms blending with fur. Rhea barked orders at a group of recruits, her voice carrying even over the wind. She looks happy, I said. She's free, Henry replied. Most of us are finally. He rested his hands on the railing. We lost too many. We did, I exhaled slowly. But for once no one died for power, they died for choice. He nodded, quiet pride softening his jawline. You made that possible. I turned toward him. We did. For a moment, we just looked at each other. No bond glow, no magic, just two souls who'd fought too hard to pretend they didn't need the other. The memory of light. Inside, the council chamber was filled with light from the rebuilt skylights. The silver and gold banners of both worlds hung side by side. Elder Myra was waiting by the long oak table, her eyes bright despite the years. "You both did what the moon said could never be done," she murmured. "Balance between city and forest, between shadow and flame." Henry offered a polite nod. "We just got tired of choosing sides." Myra smiled faintly. "The goddess is merciful. She's returned what was taken." I frowned. Returned. She touched her palm to my chest. A sudden warmth bloomed there, familiar, tender, heartbreakingly old. And then I remembered. A boy's hand in mine, the old moon tree, a promise whispered beneath its branches, "I'll always find you." The memory I'd traded to Urindra, the memory of my first love, wasn't gone. It had never been someone else. It had always been him. Henry watched my face, realization dawning in his eyes. "You remember." "I do." He reached out slowly, fingertips brushing mine. "What did you see?" "Us," I whispered. "Before all of this, before names, before packs." His breath hitched. "So it was always you." "It was always us." The moon's light shifted through the glass, catching our joined hands. The marks glowed faintly white, peaceful, alive. The forest reborn. That evening, I walked alone to the edge of Silverpine. The ground was green again where ash had fallen. Small wildflowers, blue and silver, pushed through the soil. Henry found me there, of course. He always did. "Ria's organizing the reconstruction teams," he said. "The city wants to build a bridge right here, link the forest to the lower district." "Let them," I said. "The forest can handle a few humans." He stood beside me quietly for a while, eyes on the horizon. "You realize this means you're Luna of two worlds now." I smiled. "Then I'll just have to howl louder." He chuckled, pulling me close, arms sliding around my waist. The kind of closeness that didn't ask permission, it simply belonged. We stayed like that as the sky deepened, the moon rising full and calm above the trees. "Do you think she's still watching?" I asked softly. "She never stopped," he murmured, "but for once I think she's smiling." I tilted my head to look up at him. "And you, what are you smiling for?" He kissed the top of my hair. "For the first dawn I've seen without smoke." The new pact. When the first howl rose that night, it wasn't a call to war. It was a song of unity. Wolves answered from every corner of the forest. From the city rooftops, lights flickered in rhythm, humans joining in their own way. For the first time in generations, Silverpine and the city shared one heartbeat. Henry took my hand as the chorus swelled, our bond pulsing quietly beneath our skin. "This is what I wanted," I said. "Not thrones, not empires, just harmony." "And what does harmony cost?" he asked. I looked toward the moon. Everything we were, everything we feared, and everything we chose to love anyway. He smiled, faint but certain. "Then we paid in full." The night grew softer. The wolves settled. And somewhere between the city lights and the forest's breath, the world finally rested. I rested too, my head against Henry's shoulder, the moon bright above us, the scent of pine and peace in the air.